In the austere courtroom on Space Station Themis, tension filled the recycled air. Arbitrator Deho sat elevated above everyone else, his pale Taurian skin almost luminescent under the harsh lighting. His 4 fingers tapped impatiently on the smooth surface of his judicial console. Before him stood Dr. Jia Kim, her dark human skin contrasting with the clinical white of the chamber. She stood straight, confident despite being surrounded by various alien species who watched the proceedings with obvious interest. Dr. Jia Kim, Deho's voice boomed through the room, you stand accused of trespassing in Sector 17 of Proxima Centauri's third moon, a restricted zone protected by Galactic Union law. Dr. Kim opened her mouth to speak, but Deho raised his hand. I have reviewed the evidence. Your ship's signature was detected within the protected zone for 3 standard days. No permits were filed. No exceptions granted. He glared down at her with his large, unblinking eyes. The law is clear on this matter. The spectators, mostly diplomats and officials from various worlds, murmured among themselves. A Neptunian delegate whispered to his companion, typical humans. They think the galaxy belongs to them. Dr. Kim remained composed. Arbitrator, if I may explain. The time for explanations was during the investigation phase, Deho interrupted. This is the judgment phase. Your research credentials, while impressive in human academic circles, do not grant you immunity from our laws. The large screen behind Deho displayed images of the protected zone, a beautiful landscape of crystalline formations and rare purple vegetation. The images shifted to show Dr. Kim's research vessel hovering above the delicate ecosystem. These protected zones exist for a reason, Dr. Kim. The crystal flora of Proxima Centauri 3 is among the rarest in the galaxy. It takes 10,000 years for a single plant to mature. Deho's voice grew colder. Your ship's engines alone could have damaged centuries of growth. Dr. Kim clutched her data pad tighter but remained silent. After considering the nature of your violation, I hereby fine you 500,000 galactic credits. Gasps echoed through the chamber. Even some who had been nodding in agreement looked shocked. That amount would bankrupt most research foundations. Additionally, your research license within Union territory is suspended for 5 standard years, Deho continued, seemingly pleased with the reaction his sentence had generated. The Neptunian delegate nodded approvingly. His species had long competed with humans for research funding. Dr. Kim's composure finally broke. Arbitrator, this fine will end my entire research program. 20 scientists depend on our foundation. We're studying crucial. Perhaps you should have considered those 20 scientists before breaking our laws, Deho cut in. Humans consistently demonstrate a disregard for protocol that other species manage to follow without difficulty. The courtroom's atmosphere grew heavy with bias. Several aliens nodded in agreement. You have 7 standard days to pay the fine, or your vessel will be impounded and auctioned to cover the cost. Deho reached for his gavel, ready to conclude the proceedings. I request the right to present evidence in my defense, Dr. Kim said quickly, her voice suddenly firm and clear. Deho paused, his gavel hovering. Legally, he couldn't deny this request, though his expression suggested he found it pointless. Very well. You may present your evidence, though I warn you that wasting this court's time will only result in additional penalties. Dr. Kim stepped forward, activating her datapad. I would like to submit my credentials for the record. Your human credentials are already noted, Deho said dismissively. Not my human credentials, arbitrator. My Galactic Union credentials. She tapped her pad, and the large screen behind Deho changed. His own system console chimed as data transferred to it. His eyes widened slightly as he reviewed the information. The courtroom fell silent as Deho's expression shifted from dismissive to confused. This says you're the Union's designated xenobiology expert for the Proxima region, he said slowly. Appointed by the Council itself. Yes, Dr. Kim replied simply. 3 months ago. Deho looked back at the screen, scrolling through more information. The spectators began whispering among themselves. And you claim you had permission to enter the restricted zone? Deho asked, his tone less certain now. Dr. Kim nodded. I have more evidence to present, arbitrator. Evidence that will explain not only my presence there but why someone might want to prevent my research from continuing. Daeho's eyes narrowed, but for the first time, he seemed to be truly listening to the human standing before him. The courtroom fell silent as Dr. Kim activated her holographic projector. A three-dimensional image of Proxima Centauri's third moon appeared, rotating slowly in the air between her and arbitrator Daeho. Small red dots blinked across its surface. These markers represent the crystal flora colonies I've been monitoring for the past 6 years, she explained. As you can see, they're dying. Daeho leaned forward, his previous arrogance fading as the scientific data captured his attention. The projection zoomed in on one red area, showing purple crystal structures that were clearly deteriorating, their once vibrant color turning dull gray. 3 months ago, the Galactic Union Council appointed me as the lead xenobiologist for this case because I'd published more research on these lifeforms than anyone else in the galaxy. She swiped through her datapad, and official documents appeared on the main screen. The Council's seal was unmistakable. A spiral galaxy with 12 stars representing the founding species. Daeho's eyes widened as he read the authorization codes. They were legitimate. This is my official assignment, Dr. Kim continued. I was tasked with determining why the crystal flora population has declined by 37% in just 2 years. My expedition was not only permitted, it was mandated by the highest authority in the Union. Murmurs spread through the courtroom. The Neptunian delegate who had been so smug earlier now looked uncomfortable. If you were acting under council orders, why wasn't this court informed? Daeho asked, his voice having lost its previous edge. Dr. Kim's expression hardened. I filed all the proper documentation. I received confirmation that all relevant authorities had been notified. She tapped her pad again, and a series of transmission logs appeared. Here are the records showing my team submitted all required permits 3 weeks before our expedition began. Daeho scanned the logs, his brow furrowing. These appear to be in order, but we received no such notifications. Exactly. Dr. Kim's voice carried throughout the room. Someone doesn't want my research to continue. The hologram changed again, showing Dr. Kim's research vessel hovering above the crystal formations. But instead of looking harmful, the ship was clearly using specialized equipment to collect samples without disturbing the ecosystem. My team developed these non-invasive collection drones specifically for this mission. They use anti-gravity fields to avoid damaging even a single crystal filament. She pointed to small devices floating around the ship. We took every precaution to protect the very lifeforms we're trying to save. Daeho was silent, processing this information. The courtroom watched, captivated by the unexpected turn of events. But why would anyone want to stop your research? He finally asked. Dr. Kim's expression became grim. That's what I discovered during my 3 days in the restricted zone. She tapped her pad one final time. The hologram shifted to show something hidden among the crystal formations, a small mining operation tucked into a ravine, almost invisible unless you knew exactly where to look. This facility doesn't appear on any Union registry, she said. It's using illegal sonic extractors to harvest crystal fragments. These extractors are killing the flora colonies through vibrational damage. Close-up images showed workers in unmarked suits loading crates with crystal shards. The crystals glowed with an unnatural blue light. These crystals aren't being harvested for their beauty, Dr. Kim explained. When processed correctly, they become powerful energy conductors worth millions on the black market. Someone is making a fortune while destroying a protected ecosystem. Daeho stared at the images, his 4 fingers now still on his console. Do you have any idea who's behind this operation? Dr. Kim hesitated. I traced the supply chain to a holding company called Stellar Resources. But when I investigated further. She paused, looking directly at Daeho. The company's registration leads back to several prominent officials, including Director Tae-won. A collective gasp filled the room. Director Tae-won was Daeho's direct superior and one of the most respected Taurians in the Union bureaucracy. That's a serious accusation, Daeho said quietly. Yes, Dr. Kim agreed. Which is why I collected sample evidence and documented everything before leaving. I was on my way to present my findings to the council when I was detained and brought before your court. Daeho's pale skin seemed to grow even lighter. This explains why my office received an urgent request to expedite your case. Director Taewon himself insisted on it. Dr. Kim nodded. I was meant to be discredited before I could speak to the council. The courtroom erupted in whispers. Daeho raised his hand for silence, his expression now troubled and thoughtful as he looked at the human scientist with new eyes. I believe, he said slowly, that this court may have been manipulated to serve interests beyond justice. Arbitrator Daeho stood from his elevated seat and stepped down to the main floor of the courtroom, an unprecedented move that caused a stir among the spectators. He now stood at eye level with Dr. Kim, the formal power dynamic between them visibly shifted. The court will take a brief recess, he announced. Everyone except Dr. Kim and court security, please exit the chamber. Reluctantly, the audience filed out, their excited chatter echoing as the doors closed behind them. The Neptunian delegate tried to linger but was firmly escorted out by a guard. Once they were alone except for 4 security officers positioned at the corners of the room, Daeho faced Dr. Kim directly. I need to understand exactly what happened, he said, his voice lower, more personal. If what you're suggesting is true, why didn't you announce your credentials immediately? Why let this charade continue until now? Dr. Kim's eyes narrowed. Would you have believed me? Or would you have assumed I was fabricating credentials to escape punishment? Daeho didn't answer, which was answer enough. I needed you to see the evidence for yourself, she continued. Not just hear my claims. Sometimes seeing is the only path to believing. Daeho paced the floor, his clawed feet clicking against the polished surface. These permits you claim were filed, show me again. Dr. Kim pulled up the documents on her pad. Daeho studied them carefully, then walked to his console and entered a series of commands. According to our central database, no such permits were ever received, he said, turning back to her. Yet your transmission logs show they were sent and accepted. Someone deleted them from your system, Dr. Kim said simply. That would require the highest security clearance. Like the kind Director Taewon has? Daeho's face tightened. He's been my mentor for 20 years. I find it difficult to believe he would be involved in something so corrupt. People can surprise us, Dr. Kim replied softly. Especially when there's profit involved. Those crystals are worth billions when processed into quantum stabilizers. Daeho suddenly froze. The Rigel expansion project, he muttered. What about it? Director Taewon's brother heads the company that recently won the contract to supply stabilizers for the new Rigel space stations. Daeho's large eyes widened with realization. They underbid every competitor by nearly 30%. Everyone wondered how they could possibly turn a profit at those prices. Now you know, Dr. Kim said. They're cutting costs by harvesting illegally. Daeho turned back to his console and began typing rapidly. I'm accessing the surveillance archives for the records department. If someone physically deleted your permits from our system, there should be a record. The main screen flickered and showed footage of a dimly lit office. A figure moved between computer terminals. There, Dr. Kim pointed. Can you enhance that image? The footage zoomed in and cleared, revealing a young Taurian with distinctive orange markings on his neck. That's Junho, Daeho said, his voice hollow. Director Taewon's nephew. He works in records processing. He watched as the footage showed Junho deliberately accessing files and deleting them. This was 3 weeks ago, exactly when your permits would have been received. Dr. Kim watched Daeho's face, seeing the conflict there. This goes beyond just my expedition, doesn't it? Daeho nodded slowly. If Director Taewon is willing to compromise a protected ecosystem and manipulate court proceedings, what else might he have done? How many other cases have been influenced? He turned to face Dr. Kim fully. I owe you an apology, Doctor. I allowed my biases to cloud my judgment. I saw what I expected to see, a human overstepping boundaries rather than seeking the truth. Your apology is noted, Dr. Kim replied, neither accepting nor rejecting it. But what matters now is stopping that mining operation before the crystal flora becomes extinct. Once they're gone forever. Daeho's expression hardened with resolve. We need to proceed carefully. Director Taewon has powerful allies throughout the Union bureaucracy. Are you suggesting we do nothing? Dr. Kim asked sharply. No, Daeho said, stepping closer. I'm suggesting we do something extremely dangerous. We're going to gather irrefutable evidence and expose this corruption, no matter how high it reaches. He extended his four-fingered hand toward her. I will officially reverse my judgment and dismiss all charges against you. But unofficially, I propose we work together. You have the scientific expertise, and I have access to resources that can help us build a case no one can ignore. Dr. Kim studied his face for a long moment, searching for any sign of deception. Finding none, she slowly reached out and clasped his hand. Partners, then, she said. Partners, Daeho agreed, sealing a pact that would change both their lives forever. 2 weeks had passed since the courtroom revelation. Dr. Kim stood on the observation deck of arbitrator Daeho's personal vessel, watching the stars streak by as they traveled through hyperspace. The ship was small but fast, perfect for their mission. We're approaching the mining facility, Daeho said as he entered the deck. My security clearance got us the shift schedules. The operation will be at minimum staffing in 30 minutes. Dr. Kim nodded, checking her equipment one last time. The recording devices are ready. If we can document the illegal extractors in operation and collect crystal samples with matching signatures to those being used in the Rigel project, we'll have our proof. Their plan was dangerous but simple. Return to Proxima Centauri's third moon, gather evidence of the illegal mining, and document the connection to Director Taewon and his family. How are you holding up? Dr. Kim asked, noticing the tension in Daeho's posture. He sighed, his pale skin looking almost translucent under the ship's lights. I keep thinking about all the cases I've judged. How many were manipulated like yours? How many innocent people did I punish because I trusted the system blindly? You're doing the right thing now, she said. That's what matters. The ship dropped out of hyperspace, and the beautiful purple moon filled their viewscreen. Daeho piloted them toward a mountainous region, using the terrain to mask their approach from any sensors. We'll land 2 kilometers from the facility and approach on foot, he explained. Less chance of detection that way. As they prepared to land, Dr. Kim's data pad chimed with an incoming message. Her eyes widened as she read it. It's from Subin, she said, referring to the young data analyst who had secretly been helping them from inside the judicial archives. She's found something big. Daeho moved to look at the pad. On the screen was a financial report showing transfers between stellar resources and accounts on 12 different worlds. These aren't just mining operations, Dr. Kim said, scrolling through the data. They're systematically stripping resources from protected zones across the entire Union. The crystal flora is just one of dozens of endangered species being exploited. And look at this, Daeho pointed to a name that appeared repeatedly in the transactions. Administrator Hwan. He sits on the Union Conservation Council, the very group tasked with protecting these zones. The corruption goes higher than we thought, Dr. Kim whispered. The ship touched down gently in a small valley. They donned their environmental suits and exited into the thin atmosphere of the moon. The landscape was eerily beautiful, crystal formations reflecting starlight in purple and blue hues. They hiked in silence, each lost in thought about the magnitude of what they were uncovering. As they crested a ridge, they finally saw it, the mining facility nestled in a ravine, partially camouflaged to blend with the surrounding crystal structures. Clever, Daeho muttered. From orbital scans, it would look like just another crystal formation. They activated their recording equipment and began documenting everything. The illegal sonic extractors were clearly visible, sending harmful vibrations through the crystal beds. Workers in unmarked suits loaded containers with harvested crystals. We need to get closer, Dr. Kim whispered. I need samples from both the mining operation and the dying flora colonies to prove causation. They carefully made their way down the slope, using crystal formations for cover.
Dr. Kim collected samples while Daeho continued recording the operation.
"Look there," he suddenly said, pointing to a landing pad where a small transport ship was being loaded.
"That's a diplomatic vessel. See the markings?" Dr. Kim zoomed in with her equipment. "It's registered to the Torian embassy.
They're using diplomatic immunity to transport the crystals without inspection. My people are involved at the highest levels," Daeho said, his voice heavy with shame. "I've spent my career upholding Torian values of justice, believing we were morally superior to other species."
"What a fool I've been."
Dr. Kim placed her hand on his shoulder.
"Not a fool. Just someone who believed in a system that betrayed you." A sudden alarm blared from the facility. Red lights began flashing around the perimeter.
"They've detected us," Daeho said urgently.
"We need to go. Now."
As they turned to retreat, a spotlight caught them.
Voice amplifiers boomed across the ravine, "Intruders identified. Security teams deploy. Run!" Daeho shouted, grabbing Dr. Kim's arm as armed guards emerged from the facility. They sprinted back up the ridge, energy blasts hitting the crystal formations around them.
One blast struck near Dr. Kim, sending crystal shards flying. She stumbled but kept running. They reached the crest of the ridge when Daeho suddenly pushed Dr. Kim down behind a large crystal formation. An energy blast passed through the space where she had been standing.
"Are you hit?" he asked frantically.
"No," she gasped.
"But our escape route is cut off. They're surrounding us."
Daeho looked grimly at the approaching guards, then at the precious evidence they had collected.
"We may not make it back," he said quietly. "But this evidence will." 6 months had passed since that night on Proxima Centauri's third moon.
The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Union was filled to capacity. Representatives from all member species sat in tiered seats that encircled the central speaking platform. Dr. Jia Kim stood tall on that platform, her formal black uniform adorned with the new silver insignia of the Galactic Ethics Commission. Beside her stood Arbitrator Daeho, his pale Torian skin contrasting with his own black uniform. "The findings of our investigation are now complete," Dr. Kim announced to the assembled delegates. "What began as a simple case of alleged trespassing uncovered the largest corruption network in Union history." Behind them, a massive screen displayed images of restored crystal flora, now thriving again in their protected habitats.
The purple formations glowed with renewed health.
6 months ago, Arbitrator Daeho and I were surrounded by armed guards at an illegal mining facility, Dr. Kim continued.
We were certain we wouldn't survive to present our evidence.
She glanced at Daeho with a small smile. They both remembered that desperate moment. When the guards had closed in on them that night, Daeho had activated an emergency beacon, one that sent their collected evidence directly to 3 separate Union security agencies simultaneously. Then, using his judicial override codes, he had broadcast their situation live to every court in the sector. The guards had hesitated, suddenly aware they were being watched by thousands. That hesitation had given time for Union peacekeepers to arrive, responding to the emergency signal. Thanks to Arbitrator Daeho's quick thinking, not only did we survive, but our evidence was secured beyond any possibility of destruction or manipulation, Dr. Kim said, nodding respectfully to her colleague.
Daeho stepped forward.
What followed was an investigation that revealed corruption extending to 37 high-ranking officials across 12 species.
Director Taewon and Administrator Hwan were only the beginning. The screen changed to show a complex web of connections, financial transactions, falsified permits, and deleted records. At the center was an organization called the Conservation Consortium, which had been using its position of trust to exploit the very resources it was meant to protect. We discovered that for the past 8 years, this group had been systematically targeting protected habitats throughout the Union, Daeho explained. They used their positions to identify valuable resources, create false reports about their stability, and then harvest them using front companies. The damage done to these ecosystems is severe but not irreversible, Dr. Kim added. With the illegal operations shut down and proper protection now in place, many are already showing signs of recovery. The council chairperson, an elderly Venusian, rose from her seat.
The Council extends its deepest gratitude to you both. Your courage has led to the arrest of those responsible and a complete restructuring of our conservation protocols. She gestured to a document displayed on every delegate's screen. Today we vote on implementing the Kim Protocols, a new framework for environmental protection that includes independent oversight, transparent reporting, and severe penalties for violations. Dr. Kim's eyes widened slightly. She hadn't known they would name the protocols after her. Additionally, the chairperson continued, we are establishing a new cross-species task force to continue investigating potential corruption and to oversee the rehabilitation of damaged ecosystems. She looked directly at Dr. Kim and Dae-ho. We ask that you both lead this task force. Dr. Kim with her scientific expertise and arbitrator Dae-ho with his legal knowledge would make an ideal partnership to ensure this never happens again. The chamber erupted in applause. Even the Neptunian delegate who had been so dismissive during Dr. Kim's trial now stood in respect. As the applause continued, Dae-ho leaned slightly toward Dr. Kim. 6 months ago, I fined you for trespassing, he said quietly. Now they want us to lead a union task force together. Life is full of unexpected turns, she replied with a smile. I never thought I'd be working alongside the arbitrator who nearly bankrupted my research program. And I never thought I'd respect a human scientist more than my own mentor, Dae-ho admitted. I was so certain of my own superiority, of my species' superiority. You taught me to see beyond my biases. We taught each other, Dr. Kim corrected gently. That's what makes this partnership work. As the council prepared to vote on the Kim protocols, Dr. Kim looked out at the diverse assembly. Every being there, regardless of their world, their biology, or their history, was united in this moment by a common desire for justice and preservation. Ready for our next adventure? Dae-ho asked as the voting began. Dr. Kim nodded, watching as the approval indicators lit up across the chamber. Always, she said. The galaxy is full of wonders that need protecting and truths that need uncovering. The final vote was unanimous. A new chapter in Galactic Union history had begun.